Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to do a video. I haven't done a race record in a long time, so I thought this would be a little on the fitting side. This is the GT3 class from Daytona. It's B Fixed, for those that haven't run it before. A lot of fun. It gets a lot of people in it, so it's a great way to test your rating, see where you're at, if you're in the right spot, if you're not in the right spot. But I wanted to use this as a test to find out, okay, what is the new Corvette capable of in GT3? I have the GTE. I don't care for the GTE version as much as I'm starting to like this GT3 version of the Corvette. And there's some things that we'll talk about throughout the video, but it seems to be a really good, strong car. To me, it feels faster than the Ferrari. It also seems a little more nimble. It doesn't feel as tight through the corners as the Ferrari does. But I had kind of been working on this idea of, okay, what car do we want to look at running for the 24 hours of Spa? I know this isn't Spa, but it gives me a good test of tight turns, high speed. Where are we gonna fall here? Overall, I've been pretty happy racing the car. This was, like I said, my second run in this car. The first run ended absolutely poorly on the first lap, and it came down to the bus stop being interestingly slick. This car doesn't like to hit the rumbles or the paint very well, so keep that in mind if you bought this car. But we get out to a pretty clean start here, and as you'll notice, I have a car reappear to my outside. He disappeared for quite a while before the start and popped back in right in turn one. Luckily, I kept it nice and inside to be able to not hit him. But we make it through the first couple corners clean, and that was my whole goal, was just to try to make sure that I don't get into a wreck on the first lap. I mean, that's key right there. And just make sure that I put some distance between me and the guys behind me without killing the tires. Because being that this is only a 20-minute fixed race, you're not going to need to pit for fuel or tires during it. The other bad thing is, because it's fixed, you can't change anything traction control wise, ARB wise. So you're.
Did I do a big
stuck.
blinkies at the beginning of the race there?
Yeah, Jeff, you disappeared on me in the middle of turn one.
And as you can see, the Mustang knew that he
Those
blinked.
scared. I'm glad it didn't affect anyone's race.
Yeah, I was just thinking, keep it inside, keep it inside.
The main thing here was, especially here into the bus stop, I've noticed if you touch those rumbles, it gets really, really loose, at least until you get the tires warm. So if you bought this car and you're trying to figure out, you know, why does it keep doing this, get it down to a good stable speed through the bus stop. Try to power through the backside, but if you touch anything when it's cold, it likes to go for a ride. But we make it through the first lap. Everything's clean, life looks good, and we're gonna go ahead and try to set sail for the top three. See if I can close the gap a little bit, and maybe see if we can't get a podium out of this, since we're sitting in fourth currently. So far in most of my races this week, everybody's been super chill, super courteous. I haven't really gotten any radioactive stuff out of these races, which is good. You know, I'm trying to gain back some safety rating in the process. But I've always loved this series. Number one, because it's kind of short. You know, at 20 minutes, I can jump in the rig, do a race, and get done pretty quickly. I mean, the whole session's maybe a half an hour with practice and qualifying. But I tend to prefer the GTP stuff just from the challenge aspect, but this is always fun to jump in and just kind of go and just drive and see where you can finish. I've been trying to focus more on road this season to, you know, better my road racing capability. I've done a lot of races in the Ferrari. I've done a lot of races in the GTP lately. Still working on the GTP with certain tracks, but I can always jump back into GT3 and always have fun. I don't think there's a track that I haven't had fun on in these cars. But as you can see here, I've closed it into third place. We're gonna keep it inside of third and take that position over before the line. See if we can't slide this thing up into second. But Wiggly coming out of one. And I did notice that certain times if you cut it too hard and get on it too soon, it does get a little on the wild side. But it's nothing that you can't rein in. Although if you like I said earlier, if you hit the rumbles or the paint while the tires are still cold, once it goes, there's not really any saving it. You're kind of just along for the ride, if you will. But overall, I've been pretty impressed with this car. Once you get a setup in it, I can shave a couple of seconds off my lap times comfortably. I don't feel like I'm rushing it. In the Ferrari, I always felt like I was kind of rushing the way that the corners came to me. And in this thing, I don't feel that. It's pretty predictable, pretty stable. And I'll be honest, it's a Chevy, so I might be a little biased there, but it does get a little happy in the rear end and kind of dance. Nothing like the Mustang does, from what I've been told. And I've seen that a little bit in the races this week at Daytona. Is they tend to not really bounce around, but they drive like there isn't a spoiler there. So if you're somebody that really depends on rear bite, I don't know if I would go with the Mustang. This has a little bit less of a stable rear end feel compared to the Ferrari, but it seems to suit my driving style. Like I said, I've had some really good luck with it. Just jumping in it, really. I mean, I hadn't raced this car hardly at all until this race. I think I'd done maybe a hosted session with it, and then I did a GT3 race the day before this, and I didn't really get a good test of it because we wrecked the car before we even completed the first lap. And that was my fault for I didn't even run a practice lap with this car, because I'm like, I know Daytona, it's easy. Yeah, it's easy in a car that you know. I don't ever suggest that. So, if you bought a new car, definitely practice the track before you just go for it. But back to the race. At this point, we're starting to slowly pull on third place. First place is really getting out there, about 6 seconds, and they're in a Mercedes. And the Mercs here seem to be quite a bit faster, just on straight line speed alone. But the Merc has a faster get to speed, whereas the Corvette seems to, it's like a Sunday drive on its speed up, but it's stable at speed. So at this point, we're 5 laps in. Leader's 6.4 ahead. I'm kind of hoping for a mistake at this point out of the leader if we're going to close in on him, or at least him to maybe slow down late in the run and maybe wears the tires out soon or not. But I'm still going to push for it. I've got the 11 here keeping me pretty honest. And we're just rolling. We're not really fighting, because I think we're both of the same mindset. If we can reel the leader in, great. If we can't, it's not a big deal. We'll save it for the end. But leader's almost pulled out 8 seconds at this point. So, The other thing that was really interesting, especially this last corner that we come through in turn 7, with this car, it'll carve to the inside. The question is how hard is the bike going to be as you're trying to slam a throttle down? And I've noticed I've had to roll on the throttle a little bit with this car. It also doesn't seem to want to run the banking. And what I mean by that is start high and then use the banking to help gain speed. It doesn't seem to want to do that very well. The Ferrari, I could always get it to pick up some speed. This just, I don't know if it's the ride height with the setup. I haven't really figured that part out yet, but when you come off of oval turn 2, I can usually use that banking to gain a little bit more speed, and with this I actually tend to lose it. So like I said, I don't know if that's just a setup issue or what. You can see that rear end's starting to slide ever so slightly now with the worn tires. Which, like I said, it does get a little happy in the rear end and kind of dance a little bit. I think when I ran my fixed, or when I ran my open setup around here, it seemed to work much nicer. So that's something that I need to go back and test again. But I really feel like iRacing kind of hit the mark with the way that this car handles and everything, what we've seen out of it in IMSA. And when I talk to guys that have the Ford, it seems like they really missed the mark with the Ford. I'm not trying to be, a Ford versus Chevy guy here, but it does seem like I said earlier, it acts like it doesn't have a rear spoiler. So keep that in mind, if you're running it anywhere. Maybe at slower speeds it does nicer, but from what I've heard around Daytona, it doesn't do as nice as you would think. So, but we're on our way through the bus stop here. At this point, the leader has piled it up. That's the leader that we're passing there. We should have about 2 laps to go when we hit the line. And I had went back and looked at this after the race was over, and it looked like he kind of rushed the bus stop. It just got loose and he swats the wall. But at this point, it's been a minute since I've won a sports car race, so it was like, okay, just stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, and just hit your marks, and you should be all right. I knew that the car could handle it. The big thing is don't rush your corners. Make them rush the corners. And yeah, second place is 0.3 back, but maybe you'll make a mistake. Just try to keep that heart rate in check. But at this point, like I said, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty confident here. Yeah, you're freaking out because you're leading and it's Daytona. Which we all know, I've done enough racing here at Daytona on an oval that it's kind of funny that I'm leading at Daytona in a sports car. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is just try to move forward, try to push away from second place here, and as long as you've got the lead out of the bus stop, unless he's super close, should be all right. So my concern was hitting the bus stop cleanly, because I was faster than he was through the bus stop. And as you can see, we're starting to pull away from him a little bit. This was also the first test of my ambient lights that I've got, and I'm going to debut at some point in one of my streams, or maybe I'll do a setup on how I did those. But I really have those working really well, to the point of it feels like when you drive out of Oval 3, you can really feel, see, there's what I was talking about, where the car gets loose. But you can really feel like the sunlight is pouring through. And you can see at this point, I've given up first place. I do believe this might have been the last lap, or maybe we've got one more. But I'm not letting him get away from me, because I know I can outrun him in certain spots, and that's the key part. So he is pulling on me currently. At this point, he gets out about 230 foot, maybe a little bit more. But I know I can rush it into the bus stop a little bit better than he can. And as long as I can hit all my corners clean, should be able to close it back up on him. It is interesting that the top two cars are vets. I really figured that we'd have a Porsche or something try to battle us. But I mean, we just pulled away. I don't know if there was just chaos back there or what. It's definitely a good battle. You know, these guys definitely made it an enjoyable race, to say the least. Because you hate to have races where you're just by yourself and you've got nobody that you're actually racing with, because it feels like you almost feel like you're not testing your talents, right? Like you're not going against people. You can kind of get lost in, I'm not catching somebody, or I'm losing to the guy behind me, or whatever. So to have a nice battle with somebody for once was fun. At this point, he's starting to pull away pretty good. I mean, I'm keeping him right about 225, 230 once we come off the infield. And I was hoping that I could catch his draft and start to set up a good pass. So I'm pushing pretty good, trying to get back to him. Oh, and there he loses it right out of the bus stop. So now we're back to the lead again. And at this point, we're gonna pull out the 5.3 seconds to second place. You believe... I don't see the flag in the air back there yet. Oh, that was race over right there, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Slowed it down a lot. I don't remember. I think we might be one to go. And I just didn't want to lose it in turn one. So he closed up to 2.3. But you can definitely tell at this point in the race, I remember the tires were starting to get to the point of they're slick. The bus stop is getting to a point where I'm kind of double braking through it to get it to turn. So, you know, I think part of it is, you know, it's getting lighter. The tires weren't really down far, so I think it was just more of the way that the setup's built. But overall, you know, it's definitely a fun car. I would recommend this car to almost anybody. It's pretty stable. It just takes a little getting used to compared to the Ferrari, where it definitely wants to rotate a little bit better. I do know that as far as the chassis length, they're about the same. So it might just be the way that the power delivery is out of the GM V8 versus the Ferrari. But all in all, real fun car to drive. Definitely not like the Porsche. The Porsche to me feels very, very loose, like a very dancy car. And that to me takes some skill. You know, when you get into GT3, you want a car that you're comfortable with right away. I get wanting to run the fastest car, but having a comfortable car to me is the most key thing, especially with road racing, because if you're in endurance anyways, you don't always need the fastest, you need the most consistent. Fast is always nice, but fast stuff doesn't go fast for a long time. And if you can be just consistent and make sure you put all your laps in, you don't screw up and you're sitting on pit road for 20 minutes every time you wreck it. That's bigger than having the fastest car out there. So we pulled out to 1.8. Got to get it through the bus stop here with no slowdown. That's why we slowed down last time, because I had a massive slowdown on that
Fun
one.
racing, Jeff.
So we're gonna,
Man, I'm just happy to be up this far.
we're gonna hook it out of turn 4 here and
Amen.
and head
Good running,
for
a
home.
Mustang. Good win, AJ. I can't even believe that I pulled that off. I got loose so many dang times. Thank you, fellas. A good run.
Get a win out of it.
Yeah, good win, buddy.
I spun on the first lap off of turn 2 or something. Everybody just kept spinning out in front of me. I'm glad I got my spin out early.
So, as you can hear, everybody's kind of getting loose, spinning, stuff like that. But
Yeah, I had one coming down into turn 1 and just about lost it, and I luckily caught it and didn't die.
But overall, fun race. It was nice to get a win for once, especially in road. It's been over a year since I got a win, so I'm really happy about that. It's kind of interesting that my 2 road wins come at Le Mans and here, both in GT3. But you know, you gotta start somewhere, right? And you know, we're just getting started on the road side.